Have you ever locked eyes with someone and felt something you couldn't name? A storm, a sweetness that dulled your instincts, a gaze that made you forget your own sharp edges? Brother, this isn't poetry. This is design. There's a type of knowledge that modern men have walked away from, not because it's false, but because the cost of knowing it is high. Socrates didn't avoid that cost. He stepped right into it. And what he found wasn't a hatred of women. It was a truth about them that still grips the soul of men today. His warning wasn't bitter. It was forged in fire and reason. Where men are shaped in clarity, women are formed in layers of smoke. He didn't say this to degrade, but to wake you up, because what's hidden shouldn't be trusted blindly, and what enchants you must be understood before it consumes you. The men of Athens laughed at him. The jurors condemned him, but he smiled because he knew the truth. A man who only understands a woman as she appears and not how she operates is like a soldier seduced by the shine of his enemy's blade. Beautiful, fatal. Socrates taught in questions. So ask yourself, why does she seek influence from the shadows? Why does her affection sometimes mix with strategy? Why does her silence speak more than her words? If you never ask, you'll never see. And if you can't see, you'll kneel, not from devotion, but from delusion, in a republic. Socrates describes a just soul, balanced and ruled by reason, not enslaved by appetite or impulse. But what of the man who builds his life around a woman whose nature he doesn't understand? That man isn't building a soul. He's building a shrine to confusion. He spoke of the tyrant soul, the one led by desire, always thirsty, never still. And today, how many men wear the suit of reason while being chained by the hunger for feminine approval? How many build empires, not for legacy, but to impress a woman who won't stay when the walls come down? Understand this. Socrates wasn't warning you about her. He was warning you about you. When you don't know her nature, she's not your enemy. She's not your savior. She's a test. And every man must either pass it or be crushed by the weight of his illusions. You've been taught to chase beauty. But Socrates knew beauty is the bait. What matters is the intention behind it. And this, he said, is where men fail. You chase form and forget essence. You chase her touch and forget her pattern. You don't study. You fall. And when you fall, she doesn't catch you. Not because she's cruel, but because she wasn't designed to. She selects. She tests. She adapts. But she doesn't build. That's your job. That's your curse and your crown. A man, Socrates said, must live and examine life. That means examining your thoughts of her, your needs, your weaknesses, your longing. If you won't examine them, she will. And she'll use what you refuse to face, not out of malice, but because that's her nature. The river doesn't hate the rock it erodes. The woman doesn't hate the man she outmaneuvers. She's simply doing what she was built to do. The real question is, are you doing what you were built to do? Socrates lived among men who misunderstood power. They thought it was found in votes, in silver, in applause. But he knew true power belongs to a man who cannot be deceived, especially by what he loves. That's where it begins. You weren't born to orbit her. You were born to govern yourself. The unexamined life isn't worth living. But the unexamined desire, that's even more dangerous. And nowhere is desire more camouflaged than the realm of women. It wears the mask of devotion. It sings like truth. It dances like destiny. But it answers to something older, survival, selection, instinct. You call it love. She calls it timing. In Phaedrus, Socrates warns that love, if not ruled by reason, becomes a kind of madness. Divine, maybe, but madness all the same. He says, the soul pulled by lust becomes like a wingless creature, crawling in circles, obsessed with the source of its appetite. How many men live in that loop today? How many give up their mission, their values, their sovereignty for what? A glance, a dopamine rush, a warm body. You're not here to be devoured by the feminine. You're here to understand it. He observed that while men seek truth, women often seek alignment, not necessarily with truth, but with security. That's not an insult. It's adaptive brilliance. But you must recognize it. She doesn't look for what's righteous. She looks for what ensures survival, what reflects strength, status, stability in her world. Your intellect doesn't seduce her. Your ambition does. Your certainty does. Your command over your reality does. But if you hand her the crown before you wear it yourself, she'll never kneel. If you put her above your mission, she'll test you until you fall. Not because she's cruel, but because you've shown her something, that your soul is for sale. Socrates believed the soul has 3 parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. The highest man lives where reason rules. But when appetite, sexual, emotional, social, leads, the man dissolves. He stops leading. He starts following. Not her, but his hunger for her. You know these men. You've seen them. Men with no light unless she gives it. Men who kneel without asking what altar they're kneeling before. Men who burn their principles just to keep her warm. And you. If you don't wake up, you'll be one of them. Socrates lived among people who confused noise for wisdom, beauty for virtue, charm for truth. He saw through all of it, and when he called it out, they killed him. But his voice still speaks, not to the crowd, but to the man who dares to see clearly. He saw that women by nature are more tuned to present, to emotion, to safety, to now. Men are cursed and blessed with the burden of the future. Your mind stretches forward. Your soul aches for legacy. Your bones carry the weight of vision. But vision is costly, and the feminine offers a beautiful way to forget it, to trade it for comfort, warmth, and the illusion of peace. You can't. Your peace must come from clarity, not her compliance. She will test your frame. She will test your conviction. She will reflect your uncertainty back at you with precision. And if you haven't mastered yourself, she will master you. Again, not with malice, but with instinct. Socrates taught, don't hate the world. Question it. Don't fear the forces that confuse you. Illuminate them. Illuminate her, not with suspicion, but with understanding. She is not your anchor. She is the tide. Do you understand the difference? You've got to become a philosopher of your own instincts. Socrates didn't always spell out in plain words, but his life and his silence told a story. The greatest downfall of a man doesn't come from an enemy's spear or the judgment of the state. It comes from the desires he refuses to examine. And no desire haunts men more than the hunger for the feminine mystery they don't understand. The tragedy isn't that a man needs her. It's that he doesn't know why he needs her. And in that blindness, he turns her into a goddess and then blames her when she doesn't perform miracles. The truth? She was never meant to complete you. She was meant to test you. In Gorgias, Socrates tears apart the idea that pleasure equals good, that whatever feels right must be right. He strips away the illusion that validation, especially from women, is proof of your worth. What he reveals is a hard truth. Your pursuit of her approval isn't noble. It's evidence you've lost your purpose. You don't need her eyes on you. You need your soul to stand upright in the dark. Men today aren't collapsing from a lack of talent. They're collapsing from internal chaos. They can read her moods better than they can read their own values. They can quote the line she likes, but can't remember the promises they once made to themselves. They think they're being romantic. She thinks they've lost their edge. And she's right. She can't love what she doesn't respect. And she can't respect what she can control. Socrates never explained this in modern dating terms, but his thinking makes it clear. Harmony isn't about being the same in nature. It's about each soul holding its rightful position. A woman doesn't truly want to lead you. She wants to feel safe under your leadership. But if you step down from that role, if her emotions become your compass, her approval your mirror, her affection your prize, you stop being a man and start being a satellite. She might keep you in orbit for a while, but only out of convenience. And one day, convenience runs out. The world is full of men who thought they could earn her love by worshiping her. But love doesn't come from worship. It comes from sovereignty. In Meno, Socrates questions whether virtue can be taught, but more urgent question for men today is, do you even recognize masculine virtue anymore? Do you know what it looks like before you try to offer it to her? Or have you mistaken devotion for discipline, lust for loyalty, compliance for love? She doesn't want you broken. She doesn't want you needy. She doesn't even want you nice. She wants you real. The real man doesn't orbit the feminine. He orbits what is good, what is true, what is just, and he invites her to join him only if she can move in rhythm with that orbit. When she sees you live by principle instead of persuasion, When she sees you speak with restraint, lead with clarity, and love without losing yourself, she will follow. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. That's the paradox Socrates understood. Power doesn't come from chasing it. It comes from being a man who doesn't need it from anyone, especially from her. The moment you stop seeking her favor and start shaping your own form, not the form of your body, but the form of your essence, you become untouchable. Not because you're hardened, but because you're whole. Wholeness is the wealth most men have forgotten. The temples of Athens weren't built for comfort. They were built for virtue, carved in stone, tested in trials, whispered to men by voices like Socrates. The message was simple: know thyself. Not please her, not serve her, not become what she wants. No, because in knowing there's power, and in power there's peace. But most men today aren't at peace. They're at war, not with her, but with the lie they've swallowed, that her love will save them, that her body will cure their restlessness, that her smile will stand in for their sense of self. That's not love. That's intoxication. And like every philosopher knew, the drunk can't see the truth. Socrates spoke often of forms, the perfect realities behind our imperfect shadows. There's a form of womanhood, just as there's a form of manhood. But modern men chase only the shadow, the curves, the eyes, the perfume, the pose. They forget to ask, what does this form serve? What does it protect? What does it consume? She's not evil. She's efficient. She's not deceptive. She's adaptive. She's not broken. She's tuned for survival, not yours, but hers. Her instincts are sharper than your fantasies. Her decisions are faster than your affections. And when your vision is clouded by lust or longing, she sees what you don't, your weakness. Socrates didn't put it in dating terms, but the principle is here. You're either ruled by reason or ruled by desire. There's no middle ground. The man who dives into her without a map doesn't become free. He becomes lost, maybe smiling, but drowning all the same. And when he goes under, he blames her for the undertow he never prepared for. But a man trained in reason, a man who has confronted his own hunger, unmasked the illusion before it seduced him, that man doesn't drown. He sails. She respects him, not because he's cold, but because he's clear. In Symposium, Socrates talks about Diotima, a woman who teaches him about love, not as mere pleasure, but as a ladder, from the love of one body, to the love of all beauty, to the love of wisdom, and finally to the divine. But most men never climb. They stay on the first rung. They rot in the pit of pleasure, never asking what it was meant to lead them toward. You don't rot. Climb. She's not the end of the journey. She's the beginning of the question. She's not the kingdom. She's the gate. She's the wind. But you must be the sail. Your strength isn't in overpowering her. It's in outgrowing your need for her to define you. Let her be a mystery. Let her be a paradox. Let her be a woman. But you, be a man in the Socratic sense. Measured, examined, enduring, unmoved by flattery, unbroken by rejection, undistracted by the glitter of what fades. That's your path. That's your calling. That's your dignity. Dignity isn't given. It's forged in silence, in rejection, in the cold clarity of nights when no one is watching and no one's coming to save you. That's where Socrates would have you build. Not in her arms, not in her approval, but in your own unshakable inner court. The man who needs her warmth to feel whole has no fire of his own. The man who bends his will to preserve her affection will break. And when he does, she won't gather the pieces. Not out of cruelty, but because she's looking for the man who doesn't need her to hold him together. She's not your therapist. She's not your savior. She's not the mirror you use to check if you matter. You want her to see you? Then stand where few men stand. In solitude, in discipline, in mastery, without needing to be seen at all. Socrates once said, the shortest and surest way to live with honor is to be in reality what we appear to be. And ask yourself, what does every man want to appear to be? Strong, wise, desired, respected. But how many are willing to become that man, rather than just look like him? Don't chase her attention. Build your presence. Don't chase her body. Master your appetites. Don't chase her love. offer her your truth, and let her respond however she chooses. This is what the examined life means. Not just thinking about what the soul is, but noticing how your soul reacts when it's face to face with beauty, temptation, or rejection. Because when she tests you, when she pulls away, when she withholds affection, that is the real trial. That is the arena, and that is where most men collapse, kneeling before the throne they just abandoned. Not you. You stand. You hold. You choose reason over reaction. Understand, she is not the obstacle. She is the signal. If her distance destroys your focus, the weakness was already there. If her silence kills your spirit, that silence lived in you first. Don't resent her for being what nature made her. Study her, learn her, respect her design without surrendering to it. She's wind, uncatchable, shifting, wild. You're the mast. You don't curse the wind when it changes. You adjust your sail. That's manhood, not domination, not control, but unshakable orientation. This is a truth that no one will tell you. The truth buried under layers of soft lies. Socrates didn't preach hate or fear. He preached clarity. When you're unshaken, she feels it not as fear, but as awe. She knows this one cannot be moved. And when she knows she can't move you, something shifts. She orbits, not out of submission, but selection. Not because you demanded it, but because she feels the pull of your gravity. Women, in the deepest sense, don't fall for men. They align with them. They mirror strength, not sympathy. They follow rhythm, not words. They seek heat, but not the flame that flickers, the one that endures. Socrates wouldn't have begged for loyalty. He would have become a man to whom loyalty is a natural response. He understood the hierarchy of energies. What is grounded governs what is fluid. And you, man, you're not meant to chase water with empty hands. You're meant to build a channel and let it flow to you. The world will tell you to submit to her emotions, to soothe, to please, to adjust. In doing so, it tells you to break the one law written into your bones. Never bend unless bending is your choice. Because once you start folding to earn her favor, you'll fold again and again until there's nothing left but a shadow of yourself. There is no balance where self-betrayal is the price of love. There is no intimacy without integrity. So, what kind of man can she never walk away from? It's not the richest, not the best looking, not the most charming. It's the man who could walk away and still be whole. Because the moment she senses you can't walk away, that your fire dies when she's gone, she knows you're no longer fire. You're just a candle, flickering, fragile, and forgettable. But the man who holds his line, the man who keeps moving forward through rejection, the man who stays on mission no matter her mood, that man becomes a force. Even if she runs, she feels it. Socrates knew this. While others argue for applause, he pursued alignment with truth. And the deepest truth for you today is this: your worth cannot be dictated by anyone's approval, especially hers. She will test your core, not to destroy it, but to find it. When she raises her voice, do you crumble? When she withholds, do you beg? When she threatens to leave, do you lose your way? These aren't fights, they're examinations. And every time you fail, her trust fades, not because you're not enough, but because you've shown her your foundation is made of sand. She can't trust a man who needs her more than he needs himself. The pain you feel isn't punishment, it's an invitation. An invitation to rise, to refine yourself, to become the kind of man who can love without losing himself. This isn't about cold stoicism. It's about sovereignty. It's a masculine essence, free from addiction to approval. It's the calm soul, impossible control. That's the beginning of love that doesn't enslave you. You weren't made to kneel at the altar of affection. You were made to stand at the gates of truth and guard them in his final moments. Socrates chose death over dishonor, truth over comfort, and that's the challenge to you. Stop fearing her nature. Stop trying to rewrite it. Master your own. She's not the battlefield. She's the mirror. She's not here to complete your soul. She's here to challenge it. If you embrace that, she becomes a forge. If you resist it, she becomes a fire that burns you. Don't ask her to be simpler. Become wiser. Don't ask her to stay. Become the man she doesn't want to leave. Don't ask her to heal you. Heal yourself so deeply that your scars become scripture. Socrates gave no commandments, only questions sharp enough to cut through illusion. If you walk this path, you'll lose things. You'll lose your illusions. You'll lose your addiction to validation. You'll lose the need to be enough in her eyes. But you'll gain everything worth having. You'll gain clarity, the rarest virtue in a noisy world. You'll gain calm, the kind that can't be manipulated. You'll gain power, not over her, but over yourself. Let them call you cold. Let them say you're too logical, too firm. Those are the cries of a world afraid of men who can't be bent, because such men don't obey trends. They don't fall to temptation. They don't sell their soul for a kiss. They stand, not because it's easy, but because falling is no longer an option. In standing, you become a beacon. Other men see you and remember who they were meant to be. And that ripple travels farther than you will ever know. So to you, the man listening in silence, I say this: rise. Rise without rage. Rise without apology. Rise without fear. Not against her, but for yourself. Don't run from her tests. Don't resent her power. Meet it with something greater, your own unshakable being. When you do, the illusions die, the game ends, and the soul rises. This isn't for the masses. This is for the seekers, the builders, the kings without crowns, the ones who remember the fire. If you felt the weight of these words, carry them forward. Speak them. Share them, not to glorify me, but to feed the men starving for truth. Because the world doesn't need louder men. It needs clearer men. Be that man and walk forward unshaken.